Welcome, welcome. I have I have a couple of cool things today. One of which is that one of our colleagues sent me some research that really demonstrates the value of curiosity. And as you know, that's one of the main things that we focus on, particularly with loop of awareness, is letting yourself add curiosity to your loop. And one of the ways we do that is with the So for those of you who are not familiar, and even those of you who are familiar, the it's kind of a little mini fear melter because the vibrates you in a very pleasant way. So I want to invite you to add your to the circulation of your attention, just as we're beginning here. So you kind of get into the rhythm of letting your attention move. And that's really one of the main purposes of the loop of awareness, is particularly that you don't get stuck out, in your devices or out into the, oh my God, what's going on? But you're able to move your attention. And when you are able to do that more and more, it allows you to actually, the curiosity, what we're finding is that curiosity bridges these parts of your brain that actually make you smarter, but also allow you to just have more facility to respond effectively in your life. So even as you're listening, so one of the big skills that I want to invite you to do with your loop of awareness is to use it when you're talking to somebody else, whether it's on Zoom or in person or even over the phone, because I do loop of awareness through my listening as well as my visual cues. So I'm listening, and then I'm listening to myself, and then I'm listening, and I'm always listening for what's between the words and under the words, and what's going on energetically, and what emotions get stirred up in me. And so all of that is actually weaving more, it's weaving more synapses in your brain, and it's giving you more of your cerebral cortex to work with. So it's giving you more problem solving ability. So all of that comes from something that's so simple that most of us, kind of forget about it if we've ever really learned about it. So I like to use our time together as a way of just reinforcing, oh, if I simply move my attention with curiosity, that's a really, really big way of supporting my ability to not only respond to life, but to enjoy it better. So if I'm noticing, and then I'm letting myself respond to that, noticing how my looking out in the world, or my sending my attention out, how that affects me, that opens up more aliveness for me and more flow. So that's one of the main things that I wanted to share with you with regard to your let's see, my phone is doing something funny now. See me how people get distracted, and notice how I just got distracted. Okay, and now I'm back. So that's going to happen throughout the day, is distractions. And then what is it that we come back to? And what I want to suggest to you is that you simply let yourself come back to shifting your attention. So, and shifting and landing. And then one of the other things that I've noticed is if I let it be a way of finding my rhythm, of finding what's my pace for today, what's my rhythm, am I feeling. We've been here in Southern California in the middle of a heat. It's been over 100, like well over 100 for many days now. And even though we have air conditioning, many of us have air conditioning, there's that sense of, thickness and, pulling down. And so finding a rhythm in the middle of that really allows even the heat to move and to give, a sense of, I'm able to participate fully in life, with all of the unknowns and the stuff that's always going on. And the other thing that occurred to me about our loops and scoops is that Think about what's the one of the big benefits of loop of awareness is it allows me to claim my space. So I'd like you to just go ahead and make the motions. For those of you who don't know love scoops, you reach out and just gather some love around you and bring it in to connect anywhere in your body that's wanting more love. And when I do that, you actually reach out. So you're using your torso. You're not using just your arms. You're not doing love windmills because those aren't as effective. If you do that, you're actually going, oh, this is my personal space. See, your personal space goes way out beyond the Zoom box. So just notice that, that, and all society tends to, want to make us smaller so that there's space for everybody. And, so you can stand in lines and you can be close to each other without, creating hassle. But this is your space. And when you use love scoops to claim that, then when you're taking a look at our card for today, it's going to make sense to you. So notice just what it's like for you to have done a few love scoops. Just tune into your sense of flow and presence in your body and how much space you're taking up. So for me, I get just a sense of settling and like, oh, and my body goes, thank you, thank you. I'm not just the engine, the machine that takes you from place to place. So let's show the card for today, because this kind of all goes together. So I'd like you to notice it'll be coming back.
Oops, I don't know what just happened. That's the way this day has been.
Yes,
All
I
right.
understand.
All right. I'm going to go gather it and then we'll be
Okay.
right back.
So you probably saw the big mouth opening. And what this is really about is your ability to say no. And so while we're waiting for the picture, I'd like you to just go ahead and say no. And I'd like you to say it in all kinds of tones and volumes, really softly. And also you can use tones that you may not let yourself use, like no, no, and just simply no. And then I'd like you to again do your loop of awareness. So you're noticing, how are you experiencing that? How are you experiencing you're saying no? So let me just, while you're looking at that and looping with yourself, I want to read it to you. This is from Impeccable Agreements. I follow my body signals that let me know I don't want to make a particular agreement. Let me say that again. I follow my body signals that let me know I don't want to make a particular agreement. And then the question is, how can I easily say no to agreements I do not want to make? So notice it's, how can I easily say no to agreements I do not want to make? So as you're looking at that, what this also reminds me of is the Wizard of Oz, of course. And you've got the ruby shoes there. And my sense is a lot of the magic in the world opens up when you say no. And the power in any situation really comes to the person who is able to say no. And for me, following my body signals, let's come on back now to the big group. So in Impeccable Agreements, I consider agreements to be it's really our foundational practice. So because agreements allow me to create a blueprint for the things I want to do and that I don't want to do, and that other people may want me to do. And so instead of going up into my head and going, well, this would really make sense to do, and it would, and it would help, and I don't really mind, and I feel a little like I don't really, but I should, all of that stuff, your body signals will tell you immediately whether this is something that resonates with you. And I find the only time I get into trouble is when I override those signals. And so I think, yes, I think that noticing your body signals for no may be even more important than noticing your body signals for yes, because your body signals that let you easily say no. So that's another part of the challenge here is I bet that a lot of us don't easily say no. We say no apologetically and we kind of look to see, is it going to be okay if I say no, rather than just saying no. Or we say no and then we have a long explanation like, because I just don't have time for it because I have so much going on today. And so then we make ourselves into a victim, like I just am a victim of my own inability to say no. And so invite you to do things like take a walk and let yourself say no a lot, just so you get just really used to it. Or when you're brushing your teeth, before you brush your teeth, you say no. And you just look in the mirror and you practice saying no. And then notice how you receive yourself saying no so that you can begin to unwind all of the stuff that and in polite society we just basically don't say no, and so to be able to say no and just let that rest, it's like ringing a bell that is, here I am in my own presence, in my own value, and no. So the interaction that happens can be very illuminating about the quality of that particular relationship. So I invite you to let yourself play with the value of no, and that if I find when I say no that it opens space then for what I may want to say yes to. So I find often I need to say no before I can say yes. And I think developmentally, you'll notice that any of you who are parents or know people who are parents, especially parents of around the 2-year-olds, no is this whole world of self-definition. What it really does is say, this is me and this is you, and I can be different than you. I can be different from what you want. And can we still have a connection in the midst of that? So it's incredibly powerful. And there, I think, are many more things to say about no, but I would like you to just notice, did you get some signals from your body? Like if you practice saying no and then notice what resonates in your body. So like what vibrates, what rings, and also what part of your body is most likely to give you that no signal. You can catch it earlier on, because when I don't catch it, I've made the messes like, I said I wanted to do this, but I really, then I have to think up excuses of why I'm too busy, or, I have a previous, and then I get completely out of integrity because I'm not actually telling the truth about it. So much simpler to say, no, no. And then there might be this, but you said you would, or I was counting on you. And so there's this pull, which could take us onto the triangle. So this is not a one-time deal. Like we're practicing this and it's like, oh, got it handled. I found that you'll be challenged by your particular no shadow. The things that you cannot say no to, they're gonna show up. Like somebody said, oh, I found the most wonderful chocolates that I don't think you have tried yet, and I want to bring them over for you. Go, no. So, and then no, and then dealing with the fallout. So I invite you to let yourself dive into the incredible power of no. And also from that space of loving yourself. See, this allows you, when you're doing love scoops and really claiming yourself, allows you to notice no, no. And, it is, this doesn't work for me, or, but I have just gotten to the place where I don't even make an explanation. But if you find yourself making an explanation, you can, tune into, what persona is coming up there, or what am I scared of? It's basically, what am I scared is going to happen if I say no? And I think that's really valuable, to let ourselves open up to, I'm afraid they're not going to like me. They're not going to approve it. I'm not going to hear from them again. They're not going to want to do anything with me. So those things I think are all incredibly valuable. So I noticed that all of our different things went together today. And let me also just take a look now at presence, connect, and play. So presence is fear melters. And I find I can also do little mini fear melters, especially when I'm sitting. So I invite you to let yourself just wiggle your hips. So you're probably sitting, letting yourself wiggle either around or from side to side. And you can wiggle your toes and you can let your arms and shoulders ooze while you're sitting. And so you got a wiggle and an ooze going. And you can let yourself find your feet and let your feet be wiggling into the ground. So you're feeling the wiggle and the rooting. And so wiggle, ooze, love scoops. We've already done love scoops. And those, and when you put them together, one of the things I really like that I want to suggest to you with love scoops is that you put a couple of them together. That's what we were doing this morning. So you let your hips wiggle while your shoulders are oozing. And then that also opens up some new connections in your body. Also, let yourself find your pace. The pace that feels most delicious to you. Beautiful. And connect. Connect. This one is can be a little challenging. Give attention to where others' body breath is open. So we have a whole practice that we call favoring the opening. So mostly what happens in society is that we favor we favor closure, we favor conflict, we favor us versus them. But when you start looking for what's open, and giving your attention to that, that begins to amplify what's open. And so if chest is open, or you can notice that throat is open, or the person's face is open, you can loop with that and then let yourself enjoy that openness. And you begin to then go down the openness channel rather than pushing against the closed door, which a lot of us practice doing and then get frustrated and wonder why we're so frustrated. And play is, this is a powerful one too. So take the posture of the old story, then wiggle and take the posture of the new story. So let's practice this with no. So what's your old story about no? So when you think about, so my old story about no was, I won't, people won't like me if I say no. So I'm going to take the posture of, I'm afraid to say no. And I'd like you to go ahead and take for you, what's the posture that your body takes if you let it when you're in your old story about no? Beautiful. And let yourself exaggerate it. And you might see something that somebody else is doing that you go, oh, that's cool. Go ahead and try it on, because we all have kind of similar stories about no. Great. And then let yourself notice what that does to you. And for me, I get, even just looking at you, I start getting scared, kind of, I freeze. That's the fear that I most go into. And some of you look like you're fleeing, you're trying to flee and get out the door. Some of you look like you're disappearing and collapsing. So now let yourself wiggle. Just do a pleasant wiggle. You can wiggle your face and wiggle your fingers and wiggle your back and wiggle your butt and wiggle your legs. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. And notice if there's anything else that wants to wiggle. Now, for me, I can wiggle for a long time, bigger and smaller, and symphonies of wiggles and little giggle wiggles. Yeah, beautiful. Now, let yourself wonder about what's the new story you'd like to create about no. No is easy for me. I notice my no easily. I notice my first signals of no. And what would be a body posture that would support this new story about no? So for me, it's really I wing spread. So when I do a really letting, especially from my back, because that's where your anger signals come up the center of your back. So if you're opening that and supporting your new story, then you can begin using that opening whenever you find yourself caught in your old story about no. So posture and sometimes what we call bodifying, when you let your body experience rather than talking to yourself in your head, it's much more effective. It's much quicker not speedy, but in shift time. It's much quicker to use your body and to play with your body. So that's us for today. But we have one other very important thing that we need to do because we have a birthday girl in the room today. So we may have more than one, but I know that Jody has her birthday today. So I would love to have Jody, I'd love for you to say, "Here I am," and we're going to do "I'm so glad" with you.
Here I am.
Oh, I'm
I'm
so
so
glad. So everybody
glad.
unmute
I'm
yourself so
so
that you can,
glad.
and let's have a couple more times.
Here I am.
I'm
I'm
so
so
glad.
glad.
Here I am.
I'm
I'm
so
so
glad.
So
glad.
glad.
And now let's give this to ourselves. So here I am, and I'm so glad that here I
And
am.
I'm so
Here
glad.
I am.
Here I
I'm so
am,
glad
and I'm
that
so
here I
glad.
am.
I'm so glad.
Here I
Yeah,
am.
beautiful, beautiful.
I'm
All
so
right. Well, thank you so
I'm
much,
glad.
so
everybody,
glad.
for playing today. So lovely to see you. And I'm going to take my leave now. And I plan to see you next time. And you can stay and play as long as you like. Mwah. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.